A looming disaster has befallen the financial community of America in the form of a proposed SEC regulation that companies can switch from quarterly to semi-annual reporting. And I say this not as a reflexive neophobe, but because I think it does have the potential to harm the market. You see, information is the lifeblood of all modern investing. Current and accurate information. See, on the whole, the useful information you get from people is not what they want to tell you, it's what they have to tell you. It's true in litigation for the discovery process, and it's very true in finance as well. It may interest you to know that since 1970, when quarterly earnings reports were introduced, the S&P 500 has had a cumulative return of 33,300%. I'm not saying that quarterly reporting is the only reason, but I'm sure that it is a reason. You see, the better quality information analysts have, the more confidence they can have in their projections of cash flows and other financial performance figures, and that means they are likely to demand a lower required return on capital. Then the $70 trillion stock market would lose potentially $7 to $10.5 trillion. Which seems like a lot of money, considering that by the SEC's own publications, the average company will save only $200,000 by switching to a semi-annual reporting regime, which times about 5,000 US listed companies is savings of only $1 billion a year. So I'm not sure the cost-benefit analysis balances in favor of the new rule. The proponents of this measure have generally raised two arguments in its favor. The first one is reduced compliance costs, as I mentioned. The second one is that it will promote long-term thinking among our managers who are freed from the tyranny of quarterly reports. As for compliance costs, I do agree that they are an issue, particularly for smaller companies, because they do benefit from economies of scale, so on a percentage basis they're a smaller burden on a larger firm. But if this is the case, I would suggest that the SEC confine this rules application to companies that are fairly small, say microcap size. And let us not neglect the possibility that AI will provide significant advancements in financial reporting. I'm no hardcore AI evangelist, but the accounting profession itself seems to believe there's something there. And as for the long-term planning issue, I really don't see that 6 months is a longer window for planning than 3 months if you want to get management to think in the long term. For most companies, the long term would be measured in several years, and no one would seriously propose having a 4-year earnings report just to make the management's lives easier. And obviously, a manager with real long-term thinking would have a plan from 3 years ago maturing this quarter and a plan from 3 years ago maturing next quarter, so that they'll all hit the quarterly earnings in smooth waves, instead of just lurching around finding one surprise after another. So, now that we've arrived at the problem, what can we do about it? Well, the proposed rule change is still open for comments at the SEC. I've included a link below, until July 6th, so I encourage you all to leave comments requesting that the SEC should not make this rule change, or at the very least confine it to the smallest companies that would have the most benefit from it. Thank you.